Today I'm going to tell you exactly how I got my first listing as a real estate agent at 21 years of age. So stay tuned. Hello everybody, I hope you're all having an amazing day. I got a really good video for you today. We're going to be talking about exactly how I got my very first listing as a real estate agent at 21 years old, about 4 months into the business, and we're going to get right into it. But before we do, if you end up enjoying this video, please take a one moment, hit that like button. It helps me out a lot. Subscribe if you're not subscribed for more content like this. And then leave your feedback, comments, his stories about how you got your first listing in the comments below. I love reading the stories that actually mean a lot to me. And judging by your feedback, it seems you guys really enjoy where I sit down and kind of share an experience or a story with you and what lessons I took from it. So that's exactly what we're gonna do. We're gonna go back in time to my first year in the business and discuss my first listing because it was a lot of fun. Now, this is the fourth time I'm recording this video because I just can't seem to get it right. That's some behind the scenes knowledge for you. So at first I was just making a video about how I got the listing and then how we closed it. But instead, I'm gonna tell you how I got the listing, and then part 2 of this video will be what actually happened after I got the listing. Did I sell it? Did I not sell it? So let's get into it. The week that I got my listing appointment that actually led to my first listing, our old brokerage actually had set us up on a little training boot camp for this thing called Ninja Selling. And it was from Monday through Thursday. I think it was like 6 to 7 hours every single day, right? So obviously I'm not making any calls between Monday through Thursday. And the great thing about this, it put me in a great mindset because I was training. I felt like I was very productive. And then when Friday came around, I think I had like 90 expireds ready to go. And I started going through my list and I'm cold calling him. This is towards the end of May, so I think it's my 4th month in the business. I started March 1st of 2017. So this is like May 23rd of 2017. So I want you to realize that gap and how many months I've been calling, how many appointments I've gone. I had no success. Okay, so just keep that in mind. I was doing it 3 hours a day, every day, like clockwork. So Friday rolls around, I'm on the phones and I call this gentleman. The second I mentioned that I'm a real estate agent and why I'm calling, he goes off. He is extremely upset, frustrated, everything. He's just yelling at me over the phone. He's extremely upset. He's talking bad about real estate agents, how we're not really worth what we paid. He's going to do it himself, this, that, and the other, because he was really frustrated at his situation. Now, at the time, I had not realized he was on the market for 4 years, and he's worked with 5 different real estate agents. All have been filling his mind with BS, so it's understandable why he was upset at agents and the industry as a whole. And I'll never forget this. When I was on the call with him, and I said to myself, if he's really this upset and this frustrated at the situation, then he must be very motivated to get his house sold. And if that's the case, I can help him. So I remember as he was yelling on the phone, I was doing my sales thing. I was agreeing. I was not arguing. I was like, I totally understand. I get where you're coming from, this, that, and the other, right? I think I ended it with like, look, there's some good apples and there's some bad apples in every industry, and I'm sorry that you've been stuck with bad apples for the last 4 years or so. I mean, I said the last few times because I had no idea he was on the market that long. And then I said, look, it seems like, judging by how frustrated you are at the situation, you're still interested in selling. Am I right? He's like, well, of course. I'm like, cool. So if somebody was to bring you an offer today, you'd be more than happy to get it, close it and move on with your life. He's like, yep. So then I asked him exactly why he's selling. He's like, my wife can't really go up the stairs. The stairs are an issue, and we have a big house with a lot of stairs. So I'm like, okay, well, let me ask you this. If I feel, because I'm not going to BS you around, if you work with a bunch of agents, you've gone through this before. I said, let me do my homework. If I believe I can get this house sold, is it okay if I call you back? He said, yeah. So I do my homework, and then I realized that, number 1, it's overpriced. Number 2, it's on the market for 4 years. Number 3, it is on a busy road. To give you perspective, it was in Arlington Heights, Illinois, which is one of the bigger cities here in Illinois, and it was on Arlington Heights Road. So you can imagine the traffic going up and down that road on a daily basis. And he had his house listed for $740,000 at the time I cold called, at the time he expired. And the thing about being at that price point is, one thing those buyers have are options. They don't have to settle for living on the street because they can just go down the road and then for $700,000 buy anything they want anywhere they want it. So I knew it was going to be a tough sell, but You know, when you're new, you gotta take them when you can get them, right? But I felt that, you know, if we just adjust the price a little bit, it's a beautiful house, we can get it done. I call him back, I tell him what I think, this, and that. I think and I told him straight up, I'm like, look, even though they tell you to never discuss price over the phone, which I agree, I told him, look, man, your price is too much. You're asking $740. Let me ask you, if someone brings you $700 right now, would you sell it in a heartbeat? He's like, yeah. I'm like, okay. This told me that he was serious about the selling, and he was very reasonable on his price. So I set the appointment. I think I called him on a Friday, and then we set the appointment for Monday around 10 a.m. It was early in the morning. I wake up that day. I was nervous all weekend long. I had a good feeling about this one. I'd been on maybe 7 or 8 listing appointments up to this point. Nothing really worked out for me, and I was a little, you know, I was discouraged, but I had a good feeling. I'm like, I'm the only one he's meeting, and this has never happened. Usually when I get the listing appointment, at this time in my career, I was not really that good of a salesperson. So the appointments I was getting were like the gimmies, right? The easy ones where like there's 5 agents they're interviewing and you have a lot of competition. So this is the first one where I was going to be the first agent and the only agent they're meeting with. So I was excited. I get there a little bit early. I scope out the terrain, and then I go park across the street where I'm looking at the house. I'm in my car. I got 15 minutes to go, and I'm just getting in my zone, right? I'm playing music, and then once I'm in that zone, I turn the music off, and I start role-playing with myself. I'm having the commission conversation, the price conversation, the why are you so young conversation, all of that, right? And I get in my zone, and I go. I pull up on the driveway. I'm about 5, I think I was 3 to 5 minutes early because I didn't want to show up too early. And I go knock on the door. I'll never forget this, guys. So I'm a short dude. I'm 5'7". At the time, I'm 21 years old, 5'7", and I don't come from money. So I have never been in a house this big in my life. And the doorway was so massive, it had me like second guessing myself, and I felt so overwhelmed at the moment. I'm like, oh my Lord, what did I get myself into? That's what was going in my head. And then I knew since he started the conversation with me initially like yelling, I wasn't sure what to expect. He opens the door. He could not have been a nicer man. He was literally the nicest dude I've ever met in my entire life. He showed me around this house. You know, he showed me all the work he's done. We go into his garage, and I'm a car guy, and I can't help myself. You know, I want to have fun. I make jokes. And he's got a Range Rover Sport with the black and white trim the way I like it. And he's got a black S550 the way I like it. And I'm like, look, if I sell your house, will you give me one of your cars? He said no to that. But I said, you know what? It's okay. I'll settle for the commission. So we sit down. And the second we sit down, his wife asks me, you look very young. How old are you? I'm like, dang it. Well, this has gone south because at this point, not a single person has asked me how old I am in real estate. So I never had to deal with it. But this time I did. I was like, I'm 21 years old. She's like, wow, that's very young. Have you sold anything so far? Like, how much real estate have you sold? I'm like, I'm going to be 100% honest with you. I haven't sold a single piece of real estate, but your house is going to be the first house I sell. So I was extremely cocky, arrogant, and confident. I was confident, but it could have been misconstrued as any of the three, right? And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to sell your house to Sandy. I had a lot of energy. I had a lot of enthusiasm. And they can feel that fire. I think that had a lot to do with it. So we sit down. We go back and forth. I'm showing him the comps. And I'm explaining to him, like, look, as well as you know, someone with $700,000 does not have to live on the road. Does not have to at all. So this is a problem we're going to have selling it. So 740 is not going to get the job done. But you're going to sell between $675,000 to $700,000. He said, well, if I'm going to sell for that low, I might as well not sell. I don't know if that was a test he was throwing out there, but I responded saying, look, maybe you shouldn't. I don't know what your situation is financially, if you have a lot of money, like if you owe more on the house than it's worth or whatever. But if it doesn't make sense, you shouldn't sell. I don't want to pressure you in anything. He said, no. We definitely need to sell. There's too many steps here. I'm like, okay, cool. Well, $700,000 is the only way to do it. He's like, can we list it at $710,000? And at this point, I was so trained. I was on the Kevin Ward thing where they said, never take an overpriced listing. No matter what you do, don't take it. Say no. So even at $710,000, I said, no, I can't take a listing at $7. I've never had a listing. I'm saying no to a $710,000 listing, right? And I'm like, no, I can't do it. It has to be $7. The highest I'll go on my list price is going to be $7. Because I don't want to be the guy you have to fire because I didn't get the job done. Long story short, we settled for the price. And then next is commission. He said, what's your commission? I said, it's 6%. And he said, wow, that's kind of high. I'm like, I understand it's very high, but you're not going to feel that way when I sell this place. He's like, you know what? Okay, I see you. Now, he was like on the edge until I pulled out my my trump card, whatever you can call it. At the time, I knew that I was young, and I knew that no matter what I do, any seller I work with is gonna feel like they're taking a chance on me or a risk. And I don't wanna put them in a position where it's making it harder for them to work for me. I think a lot of new agents or young agents should have the goal of making it as easy as humanly possible for somebody to wanna work with you. And the way I did that was to have a 28-day guarantee. So while other agents had a 3-month, 6-month listing agreement, I said, look, I can get your house sold in 28 days. Even though it was on the market for 4 years, I can get it done in 28 days. Oh my God, the cojones I had at the time, all right? So he looks at me, he's like, you can get this done in 28 days. I'm like, yes, sir, I can. I felt I could, by the way. I was actually authentic. And he was like, okay, we're gonna give you a shot here. And when he said that, my heart exploded into my body, into like joy, just joy all over the place, because finally, a glimmer of hope. A glimmer of hope, because at this point, I was struggling financially. I was towards the last end, because I didn't really save any. I maybe had $3,700 when I got into the business, right? And I had done one rental that paid me $500. So I'm like, I had almost no money left in the bank, and I finally got my first listing. They signed the paperwork. I had no idea what I was doing with the paperwork. I never actually looked at a listing agreement. We worked through it together. I go to my office, put it on the managing broker's desk. She signed it. I was ready to go. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how I got my first listing as a real estate agent at 21 years of age. Do not forget to come back for part 2, which I will post either later this week or next week, and I'll explain exactly how the rest of the story goes, whether we sold it or we didn't sell it. And I'm telling you this right now, a lot went down during this transaction. I learned a lot. You're not going to want to miss it. Thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. It means a lot, and I will catch you on the next video. Take care.